الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الناس اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون فإن خير الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة أما بعد. Brothers and sisters, I want you to imagine a scenario. You're on a train, and you wake up, you're very sweaty, you're very tired, and there's people on this train, and someone's playing video games, someone's eating donuts, someone's reading a newspaper, someone's watching television. And the recurring question in your mind is, why am I here? And where am I going? And you seem so passionate about this question that keeps reoccurring in your mind. And you go to these people, and they seem not to care. They seem to brush it off. And this is an analogy that we pose to University of Houston students, and we ask them, what is your purpose in life? We have a dawah table at the University of Houston, and we ask them this very simple question. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Why am I here? And today, I'm just going to read out some of the responses, and we're going to respond in kind, and then I'm going to give you the Islamic stance on it. So some of them say, to find purpose and create meaning through our relationships, passions, and growth. Another one said, life is about learning, exploring, and leaving a positive impact to the world. Another one said, seeking happiness, helping others, and leaving the world better than we found it. Someone else said, to find joy through the challenges of life. Now, I don't disagree with any of what they said, and they're all trying to come to a conclusion, and they're trying to give their best answers for it. But as Muslims, we have an objective stance for what the meaning of life is. It's very simple. It's a very simple formula. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us that what's our objective stance on this question? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in Surah Al-An'am, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, indeed, my prayer, my sacrifice, my worship, my living and my death is all for Allah, the Lord, is all for my Lord, the Lord of all worlds. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives another answer to this question that has been discussed throughout history by the greatest minds, Socrates, Plato, by the greatest thinkers. This question has been wars have been fought over this question. Religions have been started over this one question. What is the meaning and what is the purpose of life? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives another answer in the Quran. He says, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That I have not created mankind nor jinn except for my worship. Now what does this mean? If the only reason, the only purpose we were created is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's worship, that means every fiber in our body, every movement, every step that we take is dedicated towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we talk about ibadah, I want us to understand that ibadah it's not confined to the closet. Ibadah is comprehensive. What does ibadah mean? Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, he says in his Majmu' al-Fatawa, he says, العبادة في اسم جامع لكل ما يحبه الله ويرضاه من الأقوال والأعمال الباطنة والظاهرة. So he says worship is a comprehensive term covering everything that Allah loves and is pleased with. whether it's a saying or an action, outward and inward. So when we understand this concept of ibadah, we understand that ibadah is comprehensive. And as we know, in our Islam is a deen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, الْيَوْمَ أَكْمَلْتُ لَكُمْ دِينَكُمْ وَأَتْمَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ نِعْمَتِي وَرَضِيتُ لَكُمُ الْإِسْلَامَ دِينًا. This day I have perfected the religion upon you, and I have made this Islam a way of life and a deen. A way of life, a system. So when we understand what Islam is, we understand that it's a system, it's a way of life. It tells you how to operate in every facet of life. Whoever you are, whether you're a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, it doesn't matter. Islam tells you how to operate when you deal with the people, when you enter the restroom, when you're studying, when you're working. Islam tells you how to operate in every single component, in every single facet of your life. And the question now is, now that after this khutbah, everyone's going to go back to working, back to their normal jobs, back to taking care of the kids, doing whatever, and we're all in the hustle bustle of things, and we all have things going on in our lives. We understand that. Now, my objective, inshallah, of this khutbah is to make a couple of calls to action, and for everyone to get out of this khutbah to understand that everything that you do in your life is directed towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And how do we make this ibadah comprehensive? We make it, there's a cheat code. There's a cheat code to make everything that you do a source of ibadah, to make your work a source of ibadah, to make your sleep a source of ibadah, to make eating a source of ibadah, to make all these mundane things in our lives a source of ibadah. There's a secret formula. And that secret formula, brothers and sisters, is your intentions. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَّا نَوَى فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ لِدُنْيَا يُصِيبُهَا أَوْ امْرَأَةٍ يَنْكِحُهَا فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. To translate this, whoever's intention, whoever migrates for the sake of Allah and His Messenger, verily that's the intention that he intended for. And whoever intends for some worldly pleasure, or to get married, or whatever, then that's his intention. So, we have our life, it consists of working, sleeping, eating, all of these things that we do. That sets aside like ritualistic worship, like salah and zakah and all of these things. How do we make these a source of ibadah? We talked about it. We said intentions. And I'm going to read a couple of statements from the righteous predecessors on intentions. Sufyan al-Thawri, he said, I have not trusted anything more difficult than my intention, because it keeps changing. Ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, said, maybe a small action is made great, but a great action is made small just because of its intentions. Zayd al-Shami, he said, verily, I like to make intention for everything I do, even if it's eating and drinking. So observe your own life. How can I make my sleep a ibadah? How can I make eating a ibadah? How can I make all of these things a ibadah for the sake of Allah? أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. So we said our purpose of life is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we established those foundations. And we understood why that is. Now, we have our everyday, mundane, day-to-day actions. How can we make them a source of ibadah? And we gave the key formula. The key formula was to purify your intentions. And I have two calls to action. If you don't remember anything from this khutbah, then just take these two calls to action. Very simple. The first one is have 5 minutes in your day, whether it's after every salah or before you go to sleep, and ask yourself this one question. How have I served the Muslim community? What have I done for the Ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? How have I served it? Whatever it may be, and a small action can go a very long way. So ask yourself this critical question. And when we look at the Sahaba's lives, Ridwanullahi alayhim, we understand that each Sahabi, like Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, he was an archer. Mu'az ibn Jabal, he was a scholar. Umar ibn Khattab, he was a caliph. All of these Sahabas, Abu Bakr was a merchant. All of these Sahabas, they had their intended purpose. They had their skills. They had what they were passionate about. But how did all of them use what they have, their skills, to benefit the Muslim community? And that's the question I want you to ask yourself. What skills do you have? Maybe you're an engineer, maybe you're a doctor, maybe whatever skills that you have. How can you use what skill that you have to benefit the Muslim community? And I really want you, if there's one thing you're going to take away from this khutbah, it is to ask yourself this question before you go to sleep or after every salah. Ask yourself, what have I done in the last few hours, or what have I done in my day that benefited the ummah? What have I done? Number 2, call to action. Play a game with your kids or wife and come up with one action that you think is mundane, like eating or sleeping, and come up with 100 intentions for that one action. You know, like the scholars and the Sahaba, they would multiply their efforts. It was very economic. They would multiply their efforts for a good deed by having many intentions for it. So I could be doing the same exact deed as someone else, but that other person, he has so many intentions for it. So he's cracked the code. He's gotten much more ajr than I have by me having just one intention. Multiply your intentions. Be smart about it. Be smart about the things that you're doing. Be more meaningful and purposeful about all the actions that you do in your day-to-day life. So have an activity with your kids or wife or whoever, your friends, and come up with one action that you do, and come up with multiple intentions for it. But the rule is you have to tie all of these intentions back for the sake of Allah, like we said, so that we make everything in our lives a source of ibadah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says again, and I'll repeat, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I have not created mankind or jinn except for my worship. So we've established the foundation. We've established that this is the reason why we're here. This is the reason why we're living. I gave the train analogy. I gave you the objective way to view this question. And to make everything in your day-to-day life a source of ibadah, purify those intentions. Ask yourself, 2 calls to action. Ask yourself, what have you done for the community? Number 2, multiply your intentions. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم انصر الإسلام والمسلمين في كل مكان، في غزة وفلسطين وفي لبنان. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. أقم الصلاة.